Okay, so it looks like we're live on YouTube. Hi, hello everybody. Yeah, this week I think the highlight of the week for me was being with Elliot Hulse's workshop in London over the last weekend, Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, did some Q&A, which is like in a place, a comedy store in the middle of town in Leicester Square, just off Leicester Square. And he'd kind of invite people to come up. Everyone puts it a bit like satsang, if everyone's been to satsang, but everyone puts their hand up. They've got a question, and he looks around and says, "You," and you come up and give him your question. He gives a bit of wisdom and stuff like that. He did 5 hours of that on Saturday. It was great, interesting to listen to people. And on Sunday, he did some stuff over near Baker Street in a gymnasium, leading some Osho meditations and doing a little bit of bioenergetics. And it was, yeah, I mean, the main thing I really found, that I found about it was inspiring to see, like, there's about 100 young guys there, you know, who really were up for it, you know, guys in their early 20s, late 20s, and interested in themselves and their lives, who they were and where they were going, you know, interested in Elliot and his work, and interested in really stepping up. And I found that inspiring, you know. I guess, you know, I kind of growing up, I was like, you know, you didn't, all the men were always bitching at each other all the time, and I was bitching at other men all the time, and you did this, you know, that's the kind of way of being a guy. And then you just consumed vast amounts of alcohol, got some shit job at some stage, and just complained about it endlessly. And that was the kind of life of a bloke in sort of London in the 80s and stuff like that. And it is quite inspiring for me, very inspiring, really, just to see so many young guys. And it was not, you know, it was not a cheap event. It was like 600 quid to go to for the 2 sessions. So, you know, for a lot of young guys, they had to put their hand in their pocket, or they had a bit of money to go to it. So I was really impressed with the energy and quite inspired. I know I've been talking about it on my live streams for some time, about the last 6 months, but I think in Brighton, I'm really going to get this Project Man thing together and start to do some probably non-residential weekend workshops in the centre of Brighton, where guys can come, and really a men's group where you can really do some quite kick-ass bioenergetics, clear out a lot of the kind of stuff that men tend to carry around with other men that blocks them from getting support from other guys, clear that stuff out, give a lot of time for sharing and questions and whatever, and just see a little bit where it goes, you know. So I'm looking at going to get some dates maybe for February in Brighton. I think I just need to book it and do it and start to stick it out there. Otherwise, it may fall behind the wayside a little bit. And that'll be a fun thing. And then, you know, in the evenings you can go out for a meal and stuff, or do whatever people want, you know. Everyone can go off clubbing if they want. I probably won't join them. But I think it could be a fun thing that could work well in Brighton, because it's a fun city as well. And I know a lot of people would be happy to go there. So I'm looking. I think I need to just put it on my list of things to do, to contact the studio that I know there, and see if they've got any weekends free in February. And then we just go for it with Project Man. Let me stick it down there. Project Man, Brighton dates. Yeah, need to get it together. January, I'm kind of busy now. And I'm also planning to move to Brighton, well, to be there half the time anyway, about 4 days a week and 3 days a week here in the centre in Dorset. So I've got a bit more space to develop my own work and get my own stuff together. Yeah, just saw someone said, hey Kaizen, hey man. Anyway, so I was quite inspired by the weekend and excited by that, and just seeing guys who are really up for it, you know. And this weekend I'm running Bioenergetics 1-day workshop in London. I'm pretty much full there. I might be able to squeeze 1 or 2 more in, but that's good to see people up for it. And I'm just looking at different stuff, looking at, yeah, getting some projects together for the new year, and excited to have a bit more time on my own, really, or not on my own, but out of a community, out of the energy here, to see what do I want to give in the world, you know, some real work with the male side more, and more step up kind of stuff, with real challenge in it. Because I love what Elliot does, but, you know, he's not he's not a therapist. He's doing his talking and giving people the benefit of his wisdom, but also for me as a kind of quite interactive, let's get in there and get the shit out in the open kind of therapist. You know, let's SAS style with heart, but a little bit SAS style. Then watching the guys come up and ask questions, I could feel myself a little bit like, nah, let's get him up on stage and do this, and let's get him through this straight away, you know, because that's what the kind of therapeutic style that I came through, or one of the styles, and so it's what I'm happy to teach and what I'm happy to lead, you know, getting some real good group process work. But of course, you can't learn that kind of stuff in many places, and Elliot's background is more, you know, bodybuilding, and he's a really good-hearted, solid guy and a great guy. But I was a little bit frustrated sometimes, thinking, yeah, let's really get in there and get some of these conflicts out of the way so people can move on. So it inspired me to say, okay, I need to get this fucking project, man, together and get it going for next year. Okay, let me check the chat and stop totally rattling on about myself. Mohammed, hey, Mohammed. Yeah, I was just talking about Elliot, so I won't talk about it all again. You'll have to just wait till the end and just listen in. But it was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. I thought maybe I was leading something, but I wasn't leading anything. But I got to introduce myself and tell the guys a bit what I'm doing and that kind of stuff. So I think I've picked up a few people. Let's have a look. Kaizen. I'm 18 years old, living in England. Had an extremely controlling and manipulating dad who abused me and bubble wrapped me when I was younger, and my mum who has become passive, lazy and destroyed. Because of this, I've never been able to develop relationships outside college. What to do, man? I was never socialized by my parents. Well, you know, I mean, I can relate to that. It sounds a bit similar to my childhood. And, you know, for me, how I came out of it was being angry as fuck, basically, and very, very, you know, very, 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 very pissed off. The reality is you're 18 means you're a guy now. You know, you're a guy. I'm assuming you're male. I don't think you put it on there. But I'm assuming you're male. So you're a guy now. You're an adult. You know, you just become an adult. And, you know, you have to kind of dissociate from your parents. I don't know if you're still living there, but you need to sort of start to disconnect a bit from the parents and then do some work to clear this stuff out, you know, because 18 is a great time to do it. I didn't start doing any therapy until I was 39. So 20 years later, you know, and then, you know, try not to get into too many fights with your dad. But, you know, if you do a bit of work, or maybe you're ready already, to create some healthy boundaries with the father, you know, rather than get into fights because of what you didn't do when you were a kid and what you didn't say to him when you were a kid and when he had control over you. You know, there can be a desire, now you're bigger, to think, right, fuck you, I'm going to fight back now. But I don't advise that, you know. The adult approach is to say, okay, I went through a lot of shit when I was a kid, but that was what happened. And now I need to kind of take responsibility and move forwards. Talking to a counsellor, he said, yes, that's cool. If you're in the UK, and you can come to a workshop or something like that, it's going to really support you. You know, I run you look on my site and you can see a few things I've got going on. It's not insanely expensive. It's going to support you. And basically, you know, it's learning to basically create healthy boundaries and not get too sucked into the old dramas of the past. But you see, what you learn with bioenergetics is you have to, all the trauma, all the negative shit that's happened to you, and most of us have been through a lot of shit. A lot of people just don't talk about it. They just hide it away, but it's still there. Those impressions are held in the body, particularly certain areas of the body. And bioenergetics works to get those impressions out, get the charge out of the body, and then you can be clear and healthy. You know, I went through quite hell with my adoptive dad. I looked at it at the time. You know, at the time I thought it was hell. And, you know, I did about 10 years of workshops. And then I came to a place where I could really love him, you know, and let go of some of the stuff from the past. I won't talk about it all because I just won't. But at the minute, it wouldn't be appropriate. But it was a lot. And then, but I did, you know, you can come to a place, and it's very redemptive when you've cleared the gunge out of your body, all the old repression and holding, where you feel love again. So, you know, it's fantastic. Yeah, I love the body. It's been my passion in psychology. I want to do what you are doing right now, or similar to you, and start watching else. Yeah, man, cool. You know, I mean, the thing with this stuff is it's not really a training for it. I might develop one in a couple of years' time, but, you know, start coming to workshops, start getting into it, start clearing your own stuff out. If I see you're ready, I'll tell you to start teaching people, or people just start teaching a bit anyway. You know, it's a bit how it goes at the minute. You kind of pass it on, you know, you pass it on down the line. I've been watching him get host for 8 years now. Cool. And I found about Jason Capital. Yeah, Jason, he's doing good these days. Hey, I still watch his videos quite a lot, and he's stepping up. He's stepping up. Yeah, and he's really he's got his shit together, hey. I respect Jason. I think he's really getting it together, and he's doing some interesting stuff as well. You know, he tells people, yeah, you have to work hard. You know, I think he got a lot from Dan Pena, the older guy in his 70s. You probably heard of him as well. Who's a vicious old bastard in some ways, but he gets results. You know, he gets results, and I respect him as well. You know, I once sent him a horrible email about something, but I don't really regret that. But I mean, he gets results as well, and he's a cool guy. So you know, I mean, just look what you can where you can get connected up to a scene. You know, there's a bioenergetic support group that I run. I'm not in it so much on Facebook, and one on Telegram as well, trying to keep the energy moving a little bit so you can get a bit of support. See if you can come to a workshop sometime and touch base with me and start to, you know, get the triple opener going on a morning if you can, and the bow and the arch. You know, and those techniques will start to open up the body, get rid of all the old impressions, and you have a ton of energy, and you'll start to get clear. You know, that's the bottom line. My workshops mostly are in London, Brighton, and Dorset. The residential ones are in Dorset, and you do have to pay, I'm afraid, but I don't charge a fortune. You know, Elliot's group is like 600 quid. I'm not like that. If I do a Project Man weekend, I'd probably have young people in for something like 150 quid. And that, well, you live near Wiltshire, it's not far away from Dorset. Have a look if you can come to something or get the cash together. You know, it is tough, but if you do one group or one, you know, if you just look at my, you know, drop me, you can also, what you can do, what a few people do is, because I'm trying to make a bit of money out of it. So I raise the price of some groups, but what I also offer, like one-to-one sessions, I put the price up a bit recently, and people are some people are a little bit complaining. I don't think it's expensive, but you know, what I also do is if you message me on Messenger or on WhatsApp, Messenger is good, or Telegram, Messenger and Telegram I'm on a lot, then, you know, something where I can leave you a little voice message. I don't mind giving a bit of free voice coaching, you know, for people who have got questions about the practice and that kind of thing, you know. So, you know, I do that for free if it's easy for me to do, because just to hold down my little button and give a little minute of talk is easy for me, and I'm happy to do that for free to support people, you know. So that's what I offer. Anyway, let's see what else. Yeah, Jason, it'd be nice to connect up with him a bit sometime. I think he's still in California. He's a cool guy, and I like what he's doing now. He's looking right in the camera and talking. He's looking good, and he's really got his energy moving. He's got quite a lot of people working for him, you know, and it takes quite a bit of front. You know, in England, you wouldn't often see someone employ 10, 20 people just to work on boosting them as a product really out in the world. You know, people wouldn't have to front for it in England. You know, we put each other down too much, and it would be probably not easy to find people to do it. I mean, for a record company or something like that, you do, but you know, as a pop star or something. But I'm impressed with what he's doing, and I like his energy a lot. Hey, Dev, have a good evening. Hey, Thomas. I've always noticed tense my abdominal muscles. I've also noticed it's a program unconscious mind, so I do it without noticing. When I'm in a stressful situation, I can't really breathe because of it. Is this normal? I mean, it is pretty normal. It's probably not ideal, but it's pretty normal. You know, I mean, most people are not really breathing and feeling down into their gut. You know, and the truth is I did a lot of bioenergetics, but I did about, at some point, because I was very tense, I did about 3 years, you know, like monthly sessions with a guy called Andy Scott in the UK in Glastonbury, fat old guy. Funny how most good, but he does a kind of myofascial release. A myofascial release is one of those things, you can look it up, but everyone does it a bit different in my experience. And he does it, it's basically where you grind into the muscles, certain muscle groups, and you start to empty the tension out directly like that. I actually prefer bioenergetics because it's got a more natural thing that you're doing it for yourself, but nevertheless, myofascial release can be powerful if you find a good therapist who really gets into the muscles. You can't just go for the first myofascial release always, but the person, you need to check out what they're really doing or give it a try. But I did about 3 years of that, starting weekly and then monthly, about 5 or 6 years ago. And that moved quite a lot. And then I just got into the bio, basically. But, you know, it's worth the investment if you get the chance. It's worth the investment if you get the chance. You can always message me privately, look him up. He comes to Austria and Germany as well, because I'm assuming you're in Germany. I could be wrong about that, but I seem to have a recollection. But, you know, look out for that kind of stuff. that can help to get open the body up, or really stick with the bioenergetics. You know, stick with it. Matthias, come on, God. Hey, is there a special exercise for nightmares of every night and are getting very weird thoughts? Well, it's guaranteed when you're getting nightmares. One thing is clear: your unconscious is trying to unload stuff, which in body-based therapy terms mean there's holding patterns in your body which are trying to come out. Simple as that. They're trying to come out. And because your mind is keeping a bit too much control, or, you know, you're not doing any release work, then essentially what happens is it waits till nighttime when your mind has let go of control, and it starts bombarding you with loads of shit fucking dreams, which you don't really need. But, you know, that is a guaranteed marker. Nightmares are a guaranteed marker that your unconscious is trying to release. So you need to try and get in and just do some good body-based therapy or any kind of emotional expression. Sounds like you could be German or Dutch. Look around where you can do maybe Osho dynamic meditation is a good thing you could start with. You know, 1 hour practice, maybe learn it from someone, and then you can do it in your own room. Can be a little bit tricky, the noisy stage. But if you really push it with that, it clears a lot out over time. You do that daily. You can also do the bow and the arch in the morning. You can also do the triple opener. You can find those on my YouTube website. Sorry, my YouTube site, my YouTube channel, I should say. And, you know, and that stuff, the first thing to recognize is your body is trying to release, and you've got to make space in the day to do it. You know, get some release going. And then after a while, you'll find that the nightmares have gone and the weird thoughts have gone. It's a little bit too much. It's very common. You know, people go through phases when they get a lot of heavy dreams and weird shit, and they don't even want to go to sleep anymore because it's so grim, you know. And, you know, it's a sure sign, guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed. The unconscious mind or the body, depending on what school of therapeutic thought you come from, is trying to release. And you need to do something during the day to help it along. And once that starts to move, then it won't need, and you have nice dreams. Nice dreams. Good stuff. Okay, man. I hope that helps. Let's have a little look in the chat, see if I've missed anything. I don't think so. So if anyone else has got a question, feel free to plug in. I tried this week because this is my normal slot at 6 o'clock, you know. I started a little bit early, and I tried to, someone suggested that you schedule them and then people know in advance what time they're going to be. But I did try and schedule it, but I have a feeling I didn't get it quite right. So I don't know if it stayed scheduled or not. But anyway, if anyone comes online and they did see it was scheduled, then it'd be great to know that. Otherwise, I'll have another go next week. Or if any YouTube experts happen to listen in later on or now and know how to schedule it so people know when it's coming, then you could let me know, and that will be helpful. Otherwise, yeah, it was cool to see Elliot at the weekend. You know, he's also, you know, a hero of mine. I think a young guy who really stepped up and got his stuff together. And, you know, just takes things out into the world. And he's his own person, you know. He's got his own life. He doesn't follow any real rules or rule book, you know. He's got a wife and 4 kids. He's been married for quite a long time. And, you know, he's doing his thing. He had one of the most successful, you know, YouTube channels out there looking at for a young male audience. And he just kind of dropped it for a while because that's where he was at, you know. And, you know, fair play to him. Fair play to him. Okay, thanks so much. How long would you recommend doing the bow and arch daily? The thing with that is, you know, you don't want to overdo it and you don't want to underdo it. So sometimes people give themselves, they say, right, I'm going to start with 5 minutes down, 5 minutes up, 3 times half an hour. And it's too much for them. So the next day, of course, you think, oh, I'm not going to do it. Or after 2 days, not going to do it. So have a look what you can do with the bow and arch. Just be really practical. Make sure you got the position right. You know, the leaning down, you've got 3 things. Shoulders and neck loose, so you jiggle your arms and your head. And then your tailbone pulling up and the weight towards the front of your feet. And see how long you can stay in that without it becoming too painful. Maybe it's only 20 seconds. Maybe it's a minute. Maybe it's 3 minutes. And then check with the bow position, you know, leaning back. Arms should be stretched right up and right back behind the ears, pelvis forwards like this. Like you're being stretched on a kind of bow making machine or something like that, like an archer's bow. And see how long you can do that for. And then whichever is shortest, you know, do it 3 times round, up and down for that length of time. And then from there, build up. You know, you don't want to do it so it's so strong. Often people say to me, oh, yeah, I came out of your workshop and I started the bow and arch. I was going to do 10 minutes down and 10 minutes up. I did it one day, nearly killed me. I haven't done it since, you know, and it's because they're overdoing it. They're overdoing it. They're setting themselves up to make an excuse. You don't want to do it so hard that you hurt yourself for a start, or so much of it you think, oh, I'm never going to fucking do that shit again. You're setting yourself up not to do it, to fail, basically. So the thing is to be very practical, very pragmatic, try it and see what's practical for you, getting the position exactly right. And then when you're in the position, keep working at it. Keep working at it. In the sense that, you know, on the out breath, you push more, you know, arms up and arms back. This is a big thing because it opens up these muscles here where there's an awful lot of holding. You know, if you can get those open, you know, your nightmares are going to start to move quite a lot. But it probably will be quite a bit physically painful at first to do that and to hold that for a long time, you know. I was at this Elliott group on Sunday, and he was leading by dynamic meditation, you know, Osho dynamic meditation, and I was doing it, and I looked around sometime in the fourth stage, and I was the only person that had my bloody arms up. I thought, fucking hell, 100 guys. I'm about the oldest one there, apart from Brian Rose, the London real guy, who might be a little bit older than me, looks a bit older than me anyway, and only I have my bloody arms up. And you know, in the old days, you had to keep your arms up for like 15 minutes, and it was a fucking killer. It was a fucking killer, you know. But it doesn't half clear some stuff, you know. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's hidden in plain sight. But an incredibly powerful exercise just to open up this area, which gets very tense when you're working on computer a lot and that kind of thing. It's just to hold your arms high as you can up in the air and just hold them there for 15 minutes. And breathe through the mouth deep, holding them, and see if you can do it for 15 minutes. It's a fucking challenge. But if you can do that, you start to, at some point, the muscles start to open and clear stuff. So like with the bow position, it's similar. Arms right up, and you also pull them back, which increases the stretch. Okay, so we've got a couple of people online. Too bad. I have a little sip of my tea, I think. Anyway, yeah, no, it was cool seeing guys doing all these meditations. Like I say, it was also, you know, being a workshop leader and liking to get in there and really move the energy. It was a little frustrating at times, but it was an awesome thing. I'll try it now for 15 minutes then. Okay, you're going to do it in the live stream. So how you get on. No, you won't be able to type then, will you? You won't be able to type. Anyway, you know, that's a full-on exercise. You should do it standing and breathing through the mouth. Put a dinger on for 10 minutes, you know, for 15 minutes. You know, if you don't want to kill it, if you don't want to overdo it, do it for 5 to start with and see if you can do 5. And that means not letting them down a little bit, stretched right up towards the sky, up like that, fingers outstretched. Don't have to be hard outstretched from fingers, but arms stretching up like you're being pulled up by, there's ropes around your wrists and you're being pulled up towards the ceiling. And stand, breathe through the mouth deep and hold them for 5. And if you can do 5, next time do 6, 7, 8, and work it up to 15 minutes. And if you can do 15 minutes, you'll clear a lot. Likewise, if you've got a bar, an exercise, I haven't done it so much, you know, like a pull-up bar, you know, hanging from the pull-up bar for a while. Give that a try and see what it does. It opens up this area, you know, it's not a hard exercise to do. It opens up this area phenomenally, and a lot can really clear, but it can be fucking challenging. So if it's really, really painful, I'm always a bit pragmatic. You know, if I've got people in a class, then I can hold them and send them through quite a deep process. But when you're working on your own, you need to not over-traumatize yourself so that you know you have an excuse never to do it again, basically. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. What else has been happening? Well, I've got the workshop there. I've got the workshop this weekend. Looking forward to that over in Finsbury Park in London. And then I'm running a 7-day, co-leading a 7-day therapy intensive here called the Total Life Change. We've still got a few places on that. If anyone's got 7 days free and wants a real, you know, challenging 7 days when you can really work on some deep stuff and get your whole, you know, social personality sorted out a lot better. I need to do a little, maybe a little stream for my channel about that as well. But that's an excellent 7-day process. You're not 7 days with me. I'm one of the teachers. There's a gang of 4 of us, 2 guys, 2 girls, 2 women, I should say. And then after that, I have a depression and anxiety workshop, which I'm quite looking forward to here at Lila. That's a weekend. Then I'm off to Nepal for 10 days with my girlfriend. And then I'm back and I'm running Man Up just before Christmas. And then I've got a break until I'm going to Dublin now. Yes, a chap called Brian, nice guy called Brian, who came to one of my workshops, has invited me to Dublin to do some talking and maybe run a workshop. So if you hear this and you're in Ireland, then I'll be in Dublin the first week in January. I think I'm doing a talk on Thursday the 3rd, somewhere in Dublin. I don't know where yet. And I've never been to Ireland before. So, but anyway, it'll be online soon, and possibly a workshop on the Friday or the Saturday, like a 2-hour session for people. So that's coming up. And I'll put some details on my site soon about that as well. I'm also, you know, looking to travel a bit more and get some more workshops together. I want to think next year I want to get this Project Man together and really get it going and get it find out how it is, what worked or what doesn't work, and get some weekends going with that. I've got a good studio in Brighton that I like, which can hold about 20 people easy, and it can hold more really, but I mean 20 is a good number to work with. And you know, it's not too expensive, and then we can, you know, we can get some experimental stuff going and see what really works for guys. Project Man, yeah. Someone asked me how I came across the title, and was it related to the Mankind Project, which is another excellent thing for guys to do. Quite pricey, but an excellent thing to do. And the Mankind Project, it's not related to that. I got the name Project Man from Project Mayhem, which was a thing in Chuck Palahniuk's book. Fight Club was the mad project that Brad Pitt and Edward Norton came up with. And I thought, I can't call it Project Mayhem. I'll probably get done for copyright and I get all sorts of nutters come along. But Project Man stuck in my mind. Okay, I've got another question here from Neo. Hi, Neo. Yo, Dev, I have a question. My brother saying he have pain in upper back. What is the problem with that, and what bioenergetic exercise is good for that? I know in some video you talk about that. I mean, usually pain in the upper back, if we're talking about around the shoulder blades, in between the shoulder blades, lower neck, that kind of area. I mean, it's normal to get a lot of tension there when you're working on the computer. And often people don't even feel it, to be honest. It's only when they start to relax, they actually become aware of how much stress there is there. That area, yeah, cool. I mean, one thing psychologically, it's a way to keep your heart closed on an emotional, energetic level. You know, we have a center here that opens, and when you experience a lot of sadness or grief or pain, you know, it's like it's flooding out from here. You know, when something really touches you, and in like manner, but we keep it closed from behind here by a lot of thinking and doing. You know, so that's one thing it can be. You know, it's like a mechanism to keep this area tight, is to keep the arms working and doing a lot, the mind thinking a lot, and you kind of keep this circuit locked up, and that area is locked. You can look on my bioenergetic workouts for some shoulder workouts, that kind of thing. There's different ones where you lift your shoulders up and walk around, and you pull your shoulders in different directions. You need to do them for 4 or 5 minutes each. If you look there, you'll see some stuff for the arms and shoulders. You can also do this exercise I was just explaining to Matthias, where you literally, all you do is you put your arms up for 5 minutes to start with. Literally have your arms right up to the sky, and you breathe through the mouth, and you keep them up for 5 minutes, right up as high as you can, and just see how that is. And if you can do that, then start to escalate, going up a minute at a time, you know, and increasing it up to 15 minutes you can do. And that will, you know, that's quite intense. It's quite confrontational. If it's too much, it's too much. But it will clear a lot out over time if you can stick to something like that. It's quite hardcore. People might, you know, people often come to my workshops and they're used to really kicking in the gym, or they're doing CrossFit or whatever, and they do a bit of this and they're like, fuck this, you know, because it works on an emotional level as well. You know, it's not just pounding your body and you know, getting your body energy moving and your dopamine flowing and your endorphins flowing. All that stuff is great, you know. I mean, it's fucking great. You know, I was in the gym last night. It's excellent. But the reality is, you know, when you start to work on an emotional level, it goes in deeper. You know, when you work with these muscle groups where there's a lot of emotional holding, then it is more challenging in a way, because you're starting to confront stuff that you've been storing away and hiding away from in your psychological life, in your emotional life, your social life, who you are. Nice little bit of Darjeeling tea. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty quiet tonight. We've got 3 people online, but I'll keep going for another quarter of an hour or so, and then I think I'm going to head off if it doesn't pick up big time. Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty cool, pretty good, you know. At the minute, I'm also running a YouTube channel which is going quite well on cryptocurrency and making money without working too hard, you know. I listen to Jan Pena and Jason Capital, and they're all about working really hard. And that's also cool, you know, but I'm also always intrigued by things where you can make money more by using your talent and skill and knowledge and experience rather than by working hard. So I'm into the cryptos, and I've been making a bit of cash like that, you know, which has been good so far, but it's all high risk shit. And who knows when it all falls apart. Kind of curious. Last year I started to those who've been following me for a while, I started to work with the gut a lot more and start to do, you know, belly workouts and stuff like that, the triple opener. And as I started to open my own gut and get more feeling in there, you know, and get more awareness down there, I really got into this kind of trading and stuff like that, you know, stuff I would never have done 5 years ago, you know, just buying stuff and shares and selling them, and then then I got into the cryptos and buying and selling, lost a load of money and made a load more back. And that's been quite exciting. And I like that kind of male side gut-centered challenge. It's cool, you know. Guys, and I want to be self-employed too. Yeah, sure, man. Sure, man. The thing to do often, you know, is like to learn anything, you know, because when I left school, you know, I did work for a couple of years in a proper job, and then I thought, fuck this. Mostly, I think, because I was trying to get it right for my parents. My brother and sister were already kind of wasters, without putting it in too many nice terms before then. And I figured I wanted to be the good one that just did what my parents wanted. But after about 2 years, I was like, nah, fuck this. And so I dropped out, you know, and then I mean, I lived on the street. I was a punk, a squatter, protester. You know, I worked little jobs in pubs and stuff like that. And then I was a you know, a busker in Piccadilly and Leicester Square with my mates, punk mates and stuff. And it wasn't until my 30s I started to get a proper job. And then I got a guy I knew, another punk guy, got this job as an electrician. He was earning 200 quid a week, which at the time was a load of money. Not very much now, but that's back in the 80s. And so I thought, yeah, fuck it, let's go and become an electrician. So I kind of found an old boy in Soho, the name of Ron. He's still around somewhere, I think. And I was his apprentice for a bit. And that was cool, you know. And what I'm trying to say is, you know, often you have to have a bit of an apprenticeship, you know, even when the trouble is when you've had a bad experience with authority as a kid, you know, when your dad, for example, is the primary authority figure for most kids, when he's been a bit of a bastard and laid his trip on you and not been the dad that you really would have loved to have, the tendency can be to really fight authority so much you end up cutting your own nose off to spite your face, as I used to say in the old days. You don't do yourself any favors, you know. It was good for me to go and learn stuff, you know. To go and be an apprentice, you know, and to go back to college and learn to be an electrician for 2 or 3 years gave me respect for myself and stuff like that, you know. So, you know, always, you know, I don't know you, man, and but always, and you know, just make sure that you don't get too obsessed with doing your own thing, and you're also getting the training in, you know, because you talk to really skilled coaches and people like this, really top of the tree, and they also spend a lot of money on coaching. You know, they spend a lot of money on coaching themselves. I don't spend too much these days, I must admit. Possibly I could spend a bit more. But when I started, I did a lot. You know, I did a lot of therapy and I spent a bloody fortune on it. Well, you know, quite a lot of money. I did about 8-10 years, you know, and I needed it at the time. I was already in my late 30s. If you start younger, you don't need so much, basically. But, you know, it's good to always keep your own training going, have a group of people that you can check in with, you know, your peers and that kind of thing. And then it will really support you to become a coach and to become the fucking best you can be, man. Simple as that. Thomas, I did dynamic meditation for the past 2 days. Afterwards, I felt amazing, but on the next day, I felt like depression. Yeah, it can happen. You know, you've got to understand the kind of resistance layer of the mind as we start to open up all these old muscle groups where there's a lot of holding. So the resistance layer, or really the defensive layer is more accurate, is activated and pulls you down. You know, it's like these Japanese soldiers you read about who are still fighting the war 20 years after the war has finished. And these are protection parts of the brain, protection programs that are trying to stop you feeling all the old repressed trauma that's in there. And you need to recognize the depression is coming and try and get enough distance from it to keep on breathing and moving. Because when the depression comes in your brain, it's like a radio depression playing, you know, telling you not to move. There's no point doing that. No point, mate, you know, just sit here and listen to radio depression all day. You have to find a way to switch it off and do something positive. Simple as that, you know. I think you reached out on the Telegram support channel the other day. I think it was you, Thomas. Can't quite remember. My memory's bloody awful. So, but you know, that was good, you know, and then it's like, yes, okay, you take some action. So look what you need. Yeah, it was you. Yeah, cool, man. It takes guts, you know, to reach out and say, hey, I'm a bit stuck right now. I'm stuck. And can I have some support? You know, that's a sign of a mature man, you know, a sign of a mature man who can do that, who can recognize they're a bit stuck and reach out and get some support and keep moving. Bottom line is you need to keep doing it. If dynamic works for you, keep doing it. Don't allow this thing to take you over. And at some point, you'll have moved through a chunk of it. You know, there's always more, but it's layers, and you get through a layer. And once you get through the first few layers, you also have the experience like, hey, I can fucking face this. I can do it. I can change my life. I don't have to be controlled by these depressive thought patterns. You know, I don't have to be, you know, I have a choice. You know, and once you get that experience, that is crucial, you know. And yes, it'll come back like a motherfucker, the old depressive side or whatever your brain's adaptive strategy is to deal with old trauma. It'll come back, either it's anxiety or depression or dissociation, whatever it is, you know, it'll come back and fight. But over time, you can beat it. You know, it takes a slow, sustained progress and you get results along the way. So, you know, well done, man. Well done for talking about it, and well done for sharing about it and for taking action. You know, I support you. Well done. That's a sort of like British salute. Is there some emotional baggage left on children that lost father in young age? Yeah, for sure. You know, it's bound to be. It's hard to know exactly what it is, you know, and you can go with psychotherapy, regular psychotherapy, to try and uncover if what was happening, you know, if there was like, if it was an age when you had memories, you know, it could be very early. But, you know, the lack of a father, or the father dying, or the father leaving, or stuff like that, yeah, it leaves a lot of different traces, you know, but that's how it is in a way. In a way, when you start to deal with trauma, I don't know how old you are, Neo, but when you start to look at trauma and emotional baggage, in a sense, it's almost best to kind of say, well, I'm probably quite fucked up. And from that perspective, or, you know, it's easy to go and do groups and to move forwards. A lot of people, particularly young guys, you know, for men from their late teens to their late 20s, they have this kind of Teflon coated ego, and it takes quite a special kind of guy to talk about this stuff. You know, mostly you're just out there boozing, chasing after girls or whatever, and just bullshitting all the time. No, that's mostly what I did at that age, not with very much success, to be honest, apart from getting wasted a lot. But that's what people do at that age group. And, you know, in some ways, you know, not to say I'm fucked up totally, you know, and just believe that, but to proceed from the possibility that you've got quite a lot held inside of you, it's quite healthy in a way. It's quite pragmatic, you know. I was lucky it took me to my late 30s, and then I could perceive, you know, actually, I'm in a fucking crisis, if I'm honest. I've not got the life I want. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm involved in all sorts of dodgy things which are making money, but I'm probably going to get the fucking law come down on me at some time. I've got no decent relationships except with other wasters, and I need to change, you know. And from that realization, I could jump into quite a deep therapeutic process. And so it is useful, you know, not to fuck yourself up, but in a way to say, hey, maybe I've got stuff and I want to work on it, you know. To go to a therapist and say, hey, you know, this happened with my dad when I was a kid or whatever, and I'm open to working on it. What can you recommend? Can we have a look, you know? Because from there, you're open for change. So that's a kind of a challenge, and, you know, to be open to change, open to therapy. It's rare you get guys who are relatively young doing that. And I mean, you know, under 30, under 25, who want to do that. But the ones that do, if you keep going with it, they can be really special fucking people, big time. If you're willing to invest the time and energy to get into the groups and to get into therapy, you know, there's a lot you can do and a lot you can move. And there's always challenges, but it can be, you know, you can really become the most awesome human being. Okay, so things are kind of quiet on the stream tonight. I think I'll do another 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to head off with my girlfriend to the pizzeria. So that's the plan anyway. So if you've got a question, then do feel free to just stick it out. I'm not sure quite else what I'm going to talk about. What have I've been playing around. Someone gave me some of this stuff, this you know, latex stuff where you can pull, you know, and you can do stretching with. So I've been playing around with that a little bit, but I don't know if it fits with Bioenergetics totally, but I was looking to see if I could do some pull downs on my trapezoids, you know, which working a lot on computer and being quite high energy, you know, always a risk of getting a bit too kind of clagged up, you know. I'm also, my favorite workout at the moment, which I'm still doing most days, I've been doing it for a month now, is chakra breathing, bow and arch, which is a combination of a bow and arch and chakra breathing, where you're down for 8 minutes and up for 7 minutes. And you also breathe into different areas of your body as you do it. And I'm really enjoying this. This is a great early morning practice. It clears, it takes an hour or so, but it doesn't half clear a lot out. And I can really feel in the last month, it's moving more from my back, you know. I mean, in many ways, where I've been lucky, and it doesn't sound like a lucky thing, is having so much trauma and so much a mind which controls and holds so much. You know, I've had to really research a lot of therapy to unravel myself. Basically, I've had to and unravel a lot myself. You know, I've had to really investigate and get in there and really take myself on and keep on moving. You know, even though now I could probably say, I've done enough and I'm going to sit back. No fucking way. You know, I'm up there and I'm going for it. You know, I was like I said, I was with Elliot at the weekend, and I was in a room with 100 guys. I was probably double the age of the average one, but I was in there kicking ass more than most of them, basically, just to show them that old bastards can still do it. Why is it so much more effective to do a group therapy? Well, group therapy is very powerful for a number of reasons. It's got some very positive aspects, particularly when you start workshops. The main thing is that you're doing it with other people. You see, most trauma, most conditioning comes around being social, basically, you know, being social, having social needs, wanting friends, wanting lovers, to be attractive to the opposite sex, whatever, you know, wanting to get a job, a role, wanting to move up the hierarchy, this kind of thing. It's all stuff around other people. So all our stuff comes up around other people. So you have a group of 20 or 30 people going through a group therapeutic process, like a 9-month training, what we do here at Lila, you know, where people come together once a month for a weekend and do a workshop. You know, it has a very powerful cumulative effect because you get a lot of triggers, basically. You know, when you're in the world in your normal state, you want to avoid triggers. You know, that's how most people are, just avoiding anything which triggers them and blaming the outside. But when you're trying to do therapy and move on fast and get value for money, maximum amount of change for the minimum amount of cash and time, then group therapy is fucking great. It's fucking great, you know, because all the triggering that you get and all the stuff that goes on, you know, there'll be participants that, you know, really piss you off, others you like, maybe some that you massively fancy, some that you massively don't fancy but fancy you. All these kind of things, you know, the alpha male who's just bragging all the time and you fucking hate him but you want to be like him somehow or whatever it is. You know, all these triggers allow you to clear a lot out. So the kind of group therapy we do, or that you can do from a Humanversity, there's a lot of triggering and a lot of emotional clearance, you know, and it's an awesome fucking process. And then, you know, after that, I did 5-6 years of that with a very powerful institution, like I said, the Humanversity, Oslo Humanversity in Holland, in Egmond aan Zee. And after that, I got more into individual work. But the group therapy is very good to clear out a lot of the big blocks so that you can start to really develop awareness, who you are as a social being. You get a lot out. So, you know, group therapy, good group therapy is fucking awesome, particularly with more body or emotional based work. And there's not a ton of it around, but if you can find some and get in there, it's well worth the investment. For me personally, you know, after a lot of group work, you know, I came out much more interested now in individuality, the male side, stepping up. Who am I out in the world as an individual? How can I be more powerful, have more embodiment and really go for it? You know, that's an ongoing challenge, and it's less group stuff. But, you know, I totally don't regret one moment of the time I spent doing group therapy. It's absolutely fucking awesome. And I recommend it to everyone to get the big stuff out, you know, to get some awareness going so you know yourself. Hope that answers your question. How much per week or month to do bioenergetic exercise? You've got to look, you've got to just be practical. How much time can you honestly commit without it taking over your time too much? And, you know, and without it being so much that you kind of, you know, you bottle out of it halfway along the thing. You've got to be really pragmatic and honest. You're the kind of person you are. Are you someone who can commit to something? If you are, look what you can practically commit to. If you're not, work on your gut till you can start to commit. You know, the main problem is getting the commitment going. Once you've got the commitment going and a bit of support, a lot can start to change. But, you know, for me, I'm happy to do an hour in the mornings And mostly I've got time, except sometimes when I'm traveling. You know, mostly I can give myself time. A few more questions. Is there something like sexual block when you can't express your interest to the opposite sex? What exercise? I mean, the throat will be one area where any level of expression can get blocked. You know, you see someone you fancy, and there's nothing worse, you know, being with a group of guys. There's someone you massively fancy in the dance floor or the bar, woman over there, and you just feel this huge block, and then all these other guys are going up to you, and you feel like shit, beating yourself up. There's nothing worse than that stuff. You know, you have to practice it, really. You know, you can even go to some of these pickup classes. You know, it's not always something I recommend, but you can give it a try, you know, and you need to get that. That is a bit like behavioral therapy, where you have to move towards people and start to speak. Group therapy can definitely help with that. You know, if you are in Northern Europe or in Europe, you know, you can look at the Humanversity if you've got some money, go to some workshops there. Sexual blocks, of course, also can manifest in terms of actual having sex. And, you know, the kind of things guys get are, you know, problems with the erection, not coming or ejaculating too quick. You know, you can look at different exercises and techniques and groups for that kind of stuff as well. And also bioenergetic exercises, freeing up the pelvis as well. Particularly in North Europe, there's a lot. Well, in South Europe as well, really. They've got the energy, but they've got Catholicism there controlling them. So, you know, there's a lot you can do with that. But the main thing to what is important as a guy, I think, that you feel like you can go towards someone you fancy and make it clear you fancy them, you know. You don't have to walk up and say, hey, I really want to fuck you. But I mean, you can if you really think you've got the front for it and you think that it's not you're going to get punched in the face or something. But, you know, I have done things like this. But you've got to be very careful with that kind of thing. But you need, as a guy, I think, to feel good about yourself, that you can see someone you fancy and you can move towards them, chat, socialize, act a bit cool, feel okay with it, you know, make a connection, create a connection. Then you feel good. Even if it goes nowhere, you know, it's better to get not dumped, but it's better to get rejected than it is not to try. You know, yes, I used to hate it. We used to do all sorts of kind of dating structures when I was doing group therapy before, and you'd have to go and approach women and say things to them and stuff like this. And, you know, you'd have to go and find women to want to date you, and you're just forced into it. And it's good, basically. But I'd find it grueling. You know, if I got 2 no's from women, I'd be like, oh, fuck this shit. Fuck this. I'm out of here. Fuck this. You know, the whole mind is like protecting myself from the no. But you have to be able to accept the no. And if you get no's, you have to also say, why not? So even though it's grueling, even though it's tough, you have to say, why not? Why don't you want to go and give me your number? Why don't you fancy meeting me for a coffee sometime? Why don't you want to go for a dance or have a drink? You know, just try and get some feedback. It shows that, because if you get some feedback, maybe it's something useful that you can change. And it's grueling as fuck. It's difficult. But if you can do that, you move on. You move faster. Okay, have done the bow and arch for 10 minutes each now. Could only do 30 seconds until I have to hold a break and then begin again. I do shortly feel more loosen my upper back. Yeah, so start with 30 seconds and go around like that, Matthias. Great. Had uncontrollable shaking. Good, good. That's your muscle system wanting to release. I think you were asking me about nightmares before. Was it you? I could be wrong. But that is because it's a clear sign your body wants to release. This uncontrollable shaking starting to come on. You know, give that a try. Give that a try. Okay, Thomas, I try that. Yeah, cool, man. You know, you've got to take yourself on. You've got to say, yeah, you're doing good. You put it out. You know, I've got an issue here. Now find a way to move forwards with it. Find a way and stick with it. Because, you know, the depression and this kind of thing gets reinforced when we feel like we can't move towards someone. You know, it's terrible. You know I was terribly shy as a kid. I had a lot of trauma from my mother leaving when I was a little baby. And, you know, I was terribly shy as a teenager and in my 20s, and I'd have to get utterly drunk to approach women, you know, which is not good, because there's a little window when you're drinking when you feel kind of okay before you keel over and start falling. But anyway, I won't go into the whole story. But, you know, fuck me, I wish I'd done some therapy when I was in my 20s. What are good exercises for throat? I mean, there's an exercise on my YouTube channel called The Dragon's Breath, which is a great exercise to open the throat. And you know, generally the triple opener is pretty good for the throat to get the belly going also, because then the throat starts to relax a bit. And just, you know, in social exercises, practice speaking to people more, and really feeling your body when you speak, being honest and open with people starts to open the throat as well. Pretty much everyone in Western society is clamp down hard at the throat, you know. So, you know, it's really not just you. It is like fucking everybody. And most people are hiding and bullshitting or just learning the kind of load of lies they can put out, you know. You can open your throat, open your neck, all of these areas. Look on my site for some throat stuff. Another thing, you know, it's not so good if you've got a history of eating disorders, you know, putting your 2 fingers down your throat to get the gag reflex going 5 or 6 times in a row can be good, just to open the throat up and get something moving. I've still got a lot held in my throat, in my thorax, basically, in my thyroid. You know, I was doing dynamic with Elliot the other day, like in this group, you know, and in the rapid breathing stage, I could feel it really physically in my up here. I'd never felt it like that before. I have to do that again, and it was painful afterwards. You know, I've still got tension held in my thyroid, you know, and I can come out and I can do stuff and I can approach people and do stuff, but I've still got blocks there that I can work on. So, you know, it's always stuff we get. But the great thing about therapy, proper good body-based therapy, is you get a result usually quite early on, and then you just have to keep coming back to do more. You know, if you've opened the floodgates, stuff comes up. But along the way, you know, it's not like you have to wait 10 years for you're fixed and you can get a social life. You know, it's like, no, you get results straight away. That's what I found anyway. I started to feel better straight away, and they still get black periods and dark periods and more shit comes up, but I kept with the group. That's another reason why group therapy can be great if you can commit to like a 9-month training, you know, where you go 1 weekend a month for 9 months. That really supports you, because there'll be times in then when you don't want to fucking go, but you have to go because you paid for it, and your peer group and the therapists are all on your back. And then, you know, the biggest change happens, you know, when you're in the most resistance. And when you can recognize that you're in resistance and you need to go, then you've really become an adult, you know, and you're ready to take yourself on, that you can recognize your own resistance. Okay, guys, any burning last questions, then stick them out. Otherwise, it's about another minute or 2 and I shall be off. Thank you for tuning in. Quite a small one today, but I dare say a few people will watch it later and listen to me rattle on, and hopefully it's useful. You know, we can all change, you know, we can all change. What I see is, you know, sometimes you need to find a way to work on the willpower first, you know, and some of these exercises where you have to keep going, they start to strengthen your willpower. So I'll be thinking about that a bit more next year. You know, it's like the practical reality is you need to get the willpower up. And sometimes if your will, it's like a muscle. If your willpower is a bit weak, we have to see what exercises can support that first. And then how can you get support? You know, there's got to be a way forwards for everyone. You know, even if you've got fuck all money, you know, you start to get your willpower going, you start to get something going, and then you can make some money, and then you can get your shit together. I'm convinced there's a way forward. You know, and it can really be done. In the past, a lot of therapy was just for kind of rich, middle-class people to navel gaze. And, you know, I could work with those people. I don't, basically. I mean, nothing against them, but I'm not really interested in that. I'm happy to work with people who've got fuck all money and just support them and try and do stuff. You know, I also have my own respect and boundaries, so I don't just charge nothing, but you can do it. Last question, some thank yous. Yeah, thanks, guys. Have you ever tried to produce DMT from the brain? Well, in alchemy, they do this kind of thing. I don't know if I've tried. I don't know if I've tried to do it, but feel free to send me a link or something after the stream, if you can tell me in a minute. I know there's various theories that are around, but I think the God molecule or something like that was at a book by a guy. Someone started DMT therapy during the pineal gland activation. Yeah, this kind of thing, you know, that you can get, you know, the God molecule kind of can't remember the guy's name. He was one of his entheogen researchers. So I was in that scene back in my 30s and stuff. But, you know, and he had a license from the state of California where he always get one, you know, to work with DMT for a while and with patients and that. But I don't remember. I'm not so interested in these drug approaches, to be honest. You know, I was into all that stuff in my 30s, as guys are, you know, ayahuasca and iboga and stuff. But I've never taken DMT itself. I mean, it's in ayahuasca, of course, but I've not taken it itself. Anyway, guys, okay, over and out for today. And I hope you all have a good evening, if it's evening, or good day, wherever you are. And I'll see you all again soon. And remember, keep doing the bio. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Just get up in the morning. Don't listen to too much bullshit from your mind. If you decide the night before you're going to do it, just fucking do it. Simple as that. Step up. Okay, you can do it.